Update. Am I the a-hole for giving crappy Christmas gifts and ruining my marriage? Original post. I, 31 female, married my soon-to-be ex-husband, 33 male, in 2018. My in-laws never liked me and made it clear. Soon-to-be ex insisted that they were just putting up a tough exterior and that they would grow to love me. To show how evil they are, one time, I joined them for dinner and brought a cake I had made because I was always raised to be a gracious guest. When I stepped into the kitchen and offered a cake to his mother as a thank you for inviting me, she took the plate over to the garbage bin, dumped it in, and handed me the plate back. When I told my husband what she did, he confronted her, and all of a sudden, the crocodile tears started. She claimed she grabbed the plate but didn't get a good grip. Then I let go too quickly that it fell to the floor. So of course it had to be thrown away. My sister-in-law confirmed that was what happened. My soon-to-be ex owned his own business, and they called me a gold digger behind his back. Of course, they insisted on a prenup, which I didn't care about because I never thought my marriage would end. I thought it would appease them and might allow them to finally treat me kindly. Nope. His business failed once COVID hit. We went through his savings and my own trying to keep it afloat. I refused to go into debt to keep it going, so he closed it down. In 2022, he was suffering from really bad depression because he lost his business and couldn't find new work. He suggested we move to his hometown, closer to his family so he had a large support network. Against my best judgment, we did. He wanted to only work part-time while he tried to restart his business, so I became the main breadwinner. And as with most wives, I became the person in charge of buying gifts. Stupid me thought buying them thoughtful, expensive gifts would finally make them see that I wanted to be accepted by them. Gifts to us were always couples gifts, but were clearly meant for my soon-to-be ex only. Every holiday was spent with them. There were monthly dinners with the whole family. After a year, I realized that if I ever tried to talk or join a conversation, everyone would go quiet. So I just stopped talking when I visited. In earlier December, they finalized plans for Christmas. A few days later, my soon-to-be ex said his family decided they didn't want me to join them for Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas lunch because I ruined the family vibe. I replied, "Fine, we'll do our own thing instead." My soon-to-be ex sheepishly looked away and said he was still going to go. I was livid and so disappointed in him. That was the moment I knew my marriage was over. So, I returned the presents I had bought for his family. In their place, I got one pair of novelty business socks for father-in-law, a supermarket brand bottle of shampoo for mother-in-law, and the nastiest perfume I could find at a dollar store for sister-in-law. The most expensive gift was a large rawhide bone for brother-in-law and his wife's chihuahua, too big for it to get its jaw around, rendering it useless. I saved about $600 to put down a deposit for a new apartment. My husband came home from Christmas lunch, telling me I had humiliated him and embarrassed him in front of his family. I asked him why he thought I would buy nice gifts for people who clearly don't like me and don't want me around. I served him divorce papers last week. Remember how he was supposed to be a millionaire by now, so he had that prenup? Soon-to-be ex is not eligible for any of my savings. It was required to keep separate accounts. Or alimony. He doesn't have money for rent or auto insurance. Not my problem anymore. Some of my friends and family are on my side and proud that I went out in a blaze of glory. Others are telling me I was being way too petty, which isn't really like me. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. He chose his family over you and still expected you to buy all the presents? This was perfectly planned and well-deserved for every one of them, including him. He only worked 12 hours a week at Walmart, so he could do non-existent work restarting his business. I make just over 6 figures, and I can't believe I didn't realize years ago that I was the family ATM. Not the a-hole. So thoughtful of them to insist on a prenup. I hope you send them a sincere thank you note after the divorce is finalized. Lol. My lawyer even laughed that the prenup that was set up for him is going to be what we use for me. It required both spouses to maintain separate bank accounts, and each spouse could keep 100% of their savings. No spouse was eligible for alimony. You should send his mother a thank you card for the prenup. Ha ha ha. Be glad you didn't have children with him. Be glad you can escape and be free with no strings. This relationship should be a learning lesson about the love you want for yourself and a life you want, not a loss. The first thing I did after I moved into my new apartment was adopt an older cat from the shelter. He was allergic, and I could never adopt one since we first started living together. Now we're just two old hags living our best lives after being rejected. You're not old, silly. So glad you're enjoying the company of an older cat who appreciates you and will show that far more than soon-to-be-ex ever did. Now for the update. Many thanks to everyone for their support in my last post. I thought I'd set a small update. First, for those who ask how the deposit on my new apartment was only the $600 I saved on the gifts, it certainly wasn't. I had to dip into savings, but that $600 helped. My soon-to-be-ex didn't bother reaching out to me after I left until he was served the divorce papers, and my lawyer made it clear we're exercising the prenup. Then, for a few days, it was loving voicemails and texts, which I never picked up, from him and his family, trying to convince me to come back. When it became clear I wasn't budging, those messages eventually turned into threatening and cruel voicemails and texts. My lawyer suggested I don't block them so we have evidence of harassment if needed. Basically, give them the rope to hang themselves with. But then last night, I got call after call from my soon-to-be-ex. Stupidly, I picked up, thinking there was some kind of emergency or something. I barely got hello out when he said, "The rent is a week late." I told him that's strange because I paid my landlord 6 days ago. He paused, sighed dramatically, and replied, "No, the rent for here." I reminded him that I don't live there and he shouldn't expect rent. Cue his parents both texting me that they're going to sue me to pay the remainder of the lease in full. I'm not worried about having an eviction on my record since the apartment is in his parents' names. When we first announced we were moving to his hometown, they rented an apartment for us right away so we could move in immediately. They've been renewing the lease each year. We had to pay his parents and then they would write a check to the landlord, who has no idea who soon-to-be-ex and I are, let alone that we live there. Red flag, I know. I'm glad I had a few weeks to prepare to leave since they'd probably use the fact that it's their apartment to kick me out immediately. Divorce is probably going to be a bumpy ride with his man-child and his psycho parents. Any advice from anyone who's been through it is welcome. Do you even have a contract at a place your soon-to-be-ex is living? I don't think they have a basis for suing you. Lol. What does your lawyer say? Lawyer is confident they have no leg to stand on. I haven't signed any type of lease, and utilities are in their name too, because they were afraid of having too many names connected to the apartment and a landlord finding out. So they're on the hook for everything that doesn't get paid. But hey, that was their choice and they're scheming. Fafo. They would be stupid to sue you. They're trying to hide what sounds very much like an illegal sublet from the landlord. If they sue, then many of the reasons you might have for not telling the landlord what's going on pretty much go out the window. Even if you don't particularly want to do it, defending against a suit could necessitate it. Once the landlord finds out, if they're going to evict, they're going to evict. Not your circus, not your monkeys. Of course, the fact that they thought doing an illegal sublet was a bright idea in the first place says a fair bit on its own. They might not consider that sort of consequences before jumping into those waters. OMG, this is priceless. They deserve everything they're gonna get with everything in their name. We're gonna need an update as things go. Don't block them, just mute them. Lawyer is right, use the prenup. Don't back down, you got this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling the sister of my father's widow that she needs to take care of her sister and leave me alone? My mom died when I, 38 male, was a young child, 7, and my dad remarried when I was 10. His wife believed she was becoming both a wife and a mom at the same time. But I wanted no new mom, and I never cared for her. I simply tolerated her presence because I believed my dad loved her and was incredibly happy with her. My dad died several years ago and he had written out all his wishes, including being buried with my mom, his one true love. He had planned everything and paid for it prior to his death. I had never felt any love or bond with his wife, so after my dad died, I faded from her life. She tried to initiate more contact and expressed that I was the child she always wanted, but could never have due to cancer prior to meeting my dad. But her feelings were completely one-sided. She offered to be a grandma to any future children I would have, and I told her it was better for her to just accept that I wanted no relationship. Her sister reached out to me in August and informed me that my dad's widow was in a nursing facility. She had developed some form of dementia and was also battling another health issue that escapes me right now. The sister said my dad's widow wanted to see me, and she wanted me to discuss care options with her. I told her I wasn't interested in visiting, and that there was nothing for me to discuss regarding her sister's care. I blocked her number at that point because she kept calling me back to back, trying to get me to talk more. She also left voice messages that were very emotionally driven. I didn't respond. In October, a random account DM'd me on social media, and I figured it was the sister again. The message said I left my poor defenseless mother to rot. I blocked the account and carried on. At Christmas, I got a call from the nursing facility stating that the family of my dad's widow had requested they reach out and invite me to see her over the holidays. In an attempt to persuade me, the nurse told me that my dad's widow mentioned her son a lot. I explained that I had no interest in visiting and did not wish to receive any further communication about her, which the nurse accepted. Midway through last month, I received another DM from an account with a very long and detailed message about the current situation of my dad's widow. I unblocked her sister's number temporarily, called her, and told her I did not want her pestering me anymore. I told her that her refusal to accept my decision was becoming harassment. I told her my dad's widow was not my problem. She was not my mom, and I did not care for her. I told her sister she needed to take care of her own sister and leave me alone, because I was not involved and I was not family. I told her that if she didn't stop, I would get the police involved. I ended a call to her losing her mind over the phone. I blocked her again and followed up by replying to the DM so that it was written somewhere that I did not want any further contact, as we had discussed on the phone. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Sounds like the sister doesn't want to take care of her either. Still doesn't change that this isn't your problem. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry about your mom's passing when you were so young. That is always hard, and about your dad. Thank you. Losing my mom was very life-altering, and it's not something I would wish on any child. The pain never fully goes away. It does sound like that, or that she wants to do less and expects me to step up since they don't have any other family. Sadly, it sounds as if your father married a second wife to have someone to care for you while he was presumably working, and maybe for companionship. It also sounds like she married him to have a family she couldn't have otherwise. In fact, going back into the olden days, these sorts of marriages happened all the time. My mom had a cousin who lost her husband and unborn child in a terrible car accident. She was very young. So my family set her up with a young man, not too much older than her, whose wife had died, and she raised his two very young daughters. It worked out well for them. They even had a child together. But the reason it worked out for them is that, while this cousin showed the children love and kindness, she did not expect to be their mother. She didn't expect to replace their mother. All she expected was that they showed her respect, and she was the one looking after them. They grew a natural bond over time. Your father's second wife, however, sounds like she pushed. She was obviously desperate to have a child and thought you were her ticket. But children are not dolls. They have feelings. Now her family doesn't want to pick up the slack or take care of their relative in a care facility, so they think you should take that on. Unless your father's will stated otherwise, that she should be cared for until death like some people do for their spouses, it doesn't fall to you to fix everything. Good luck to you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex to figure it out or he's not seeing the kids again? My ex and I share custody, so the way our system works is that we each take the kids in our assigned days, sometimes the weekends too. He hasn't been doing what he's supposed to do. It's been like this for 3 weeks now. It's stupid how long this has been going on. I try to express to him that we both need to be working with our kids, not just me. His mother was diagnosed with dementia a month ago, and that's when everything changed. His siblings didn't want their mom living with them, so my ex had to take her in since he doesn't want her in a home. His other kids also live with him. He told me he can't keep taking the kids because his mom is a lot to handle. I felt as if he just didn't want the kids. Last week was our oldest son's birthday, and he didn't even call to wish him a happy birthday because he was out having fun with his other family. Just imagine how the kids feel. Listen, he never wanted to watch our kids because he fought not to be in their lives, but it backfired. I don't have many people around me to help with the kids, so I'm doing it by myself. I had to call off work twice to pick up my kids from school when it was their father's weekend to get them. It's messing up my life and theirs. When the kids try to call him, he makes up an excuse or just doesn't pick up. He could get help from all these homes so his mother can get professional care, but he refuses. Even when I try to help him, he didn't care. I try to call him, but no one picked up. I just texted him a long paragraph because the more I try, the less he seems to care. I told him to figure out his situation or he won't see the kids again. If he can't pitch in, then we have to go back to court. Am I the a-hole? You need to work together to get a schedule that works for him and allows you to have certainty over his days so you can plan your life. It's not about him versus you, but about something you can both stick to. If that means he rarely sees the kids, then that's the cost for him not being able to commit to regular days. As for not putting his mom in a home, it's altruistic and lovely, but if he's not coping, then he's not doing the right thing by her or any of his kids. Dementia is freaking hard, even for fully trained carers with a backup team of doctors and nurses on call. He may not be able to afford putting her into a home. That's the sad reality for many caretakers. He can, but just doesn't want to. He had to take her in because his siblings didn't want to, but he was given options to put her in a home for professional care. I even gave him one, but he refused and said he didn't feel like it. I can't control what he decides. Everyone sucks here. The man is taking care of his mother, a full-grown adult with dementia, and you are critical of that. He is an a-hole for not wanting a relationship with his children. Taking him to court is likely to work against you. If he claims his mother as a dependent, then child support may be recalculated, and you may get less. Her nurse takes care of her. I actually know what it's like to have a parent with dementia. He was offered professional help, but refused it. He doesn't want to be a father, that's all, and I'm not forcing it. Instead of me having to beg him to be one, I will just go to court.